All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our final sales meeting of 2023. Share my presentation. All right, hope you guys can see that. Welcome. Thank you, staff, for getting food again. Thank you. Let's give our staff actually a really pause for all of the hard work this year. We did so many events and fed us so many times, took care of us through the year. So we're very appreciative of all of you. All right, kick things off. Oh, let me hide this real quick. I don't want to use the chat. I have to turn that off, sorry. All right. Don't forget, Jim is in Mexico. He is gone, so he's out of the country right now. He's got another like 6 days or 8 days, I think, left, and then he'll be back. Also, jet setting out of the country is Mr. Tony, and he is in El Salvador. So him and his son took a special trip, one of those kind of things that they planned. Let's do it, you know, one of those life events. Let's go. You know, we got to make a plan and go do this, and they did it. So it's really exciting for me. So don't forget they are gone. Of course, they stuck me here. We got a manager meeting tomorrow in Olympia that is all day long. And of course, they're both gone. So if you guys need help tomorrow, you're gonna have to try to text me, I guess, and I'll do the best I can responding. So just remember that I'll be in Olympia all day. Pray for me, please. Also, I want to say congratulations, Kayla and Joe, Mrs. Martin. So you had a little blizzard, you know, going on during the ceremony. You want to tell us real briefly just how that worked out?
It was great.
It was great.
We weren't expecting that much snow, but it
Yeah,
worked out.
yeah, where was this at?
Leavenworth.
Oh, wow.
That makes
Praise.
Oh.
So cute.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Ended up being beautiful.
Congratulations.
The holiday party was a lot of fun for those of you who, you know, got to make it to that. Great turnout. It was definitely crowded. It was packed. But it was great food, lots of fun. You know, we'll see what we do next year. We'll look to maybe doing it at a different location or whatever. I know we had some issues with the bartender a little bit. He's a little grumpy. He wasn't expecting as many people, and he didn't expect that he had the wrong time down for what time he was starting. So I kind of generated a little anger, you know, during our event. But anyway, it worked out fine. It was so much fun. But thank you guys for making it. All right, Tom Ferry, set your date, set your calendar, January 17th. He's coming for just us. It's gonna be a River Rock from 8:30 a.m. to 12:45. So it's gonna be just Tom for us and Renton. That's it. So be sure to put that down in your calendar, huh?
Must RSVP.
Yeah, we're trying to get a head count, so they have, you know, the food counts and all that kind of stuff too,
So
and
we have
packets.
chairs for you guys.
Yeah, that too. So don't miss that one. Market update. So obviously we are in the very last section of the year. We are in December, and for the 6 phases to the yearly housing cycle, this is where we see the least amount of listings drop off. Don't forget, number one date for expired listings. You guys know what it is?
January 1st. December 31st.
December 23rd.
Right. It's all hovering into the beginning of the year and the end of the year. So make sure you keep an eye on any of your listings. For those of you who want business, maybe that's time to start, you know, making calls for some expireds and cancels, but do your homework before you make a call. All right, let's look at King and Pierce County market stats. King County, you can see the last active listing for the last 5 years, about where we're at.
Wow.
right there. I mean, almost as low as 2020. It doesn't, I mean, it's hard to remember back then, but it is weird, but that's where we're at. For total active listings, year to date, so King County residential only. Here's King County numbers, so brand new listings, we're only, for November's counts was 1128. Last year at the same time it was 1269. Total active is 1889. And last year was 2694. It's almost 30% down for inventory, which is definitely saying, we've been hearing more and more about multiple offers right now. I know one of our brokers in here had a deal that went up over $230,000 over asking and 27 offers. Was that correct?
Way better than-
It's 950, it's broken up to 1,250,000, 27 offers, and somebody waited $200,000 for it at the spot.
Non-fundable 200 grand earnest money. So if it's priced right, you know, there's still a ton of buyers out there regardless of what interest rates are. Pendings are at 1171. Last year, same time was 1243. We're barely off. Barely off, 5.79%. Closed deals 1139. Last year, same time was 1312. That's just off 13.9%. And median price for November was 885.5. Last year, same time, 827,000. It's up 7%. Do you guys realize like price is up 7% over last year?
Yeah, that's.
How much do you want to bet that every one of the clients, if we gave them a test, what do you think they would say? Down.
Yeah,
They would.
they would.
They would, huh?
That's what they
Yeah.
think, yeah.
So this is, it's our job to educate our clients. So make sure you're giving them the proper information so they understand the market. Months of inventory is 1.66. That's it. So quite low. King County condo only 385 new listings came on. Last year, same time was 395. Total active is 944. Last year, same time was 905. It's actually up 4.31%. That I believe for condos. Pendings is 376. Last year, same time, it was 372. It's actually up. Pendings are up. Closed deals, 335. Last year, same time was 345. It's off 2.90%. And then the median price for November is 485 for a condo in King County. Last year, same time was 468,000. It's up 3.63%. And there's a 2.82 month supply. Most of that is happening in where? Seattle. Yep, most of that inventory is all into Seattle. There's still a lot of that movement going on with Amazon employees and Google, Facebook, and most of the big tech companies moving to the east side. So that's happening. All right, take a peek at Pierce County last 5 years, where they're at. Real close to 2019 for that inventory. And then 2020 was extremely low. That was the lowest ever for Pierce County. And then total active listings for November was 1329. You can see where it was for the year. Pierce County residential only 674 brand new listings. Last year, same time was 712. Total active is 1329. Last year, same time was 1769. It's off almost 25%. Pending sales 655. Last year, same time was 789. It's off almost 17%. Closed deals 583. Last year at the same time was 820. It's off almost 29%. And then the price median for November residential in Pierce County was 539,950. Last year, same time is 525. It's up 2.85%. And then months inventory is 2.28. So that's actually a little more inventory in Pierce County than there is in King. Condos, 68 total new listings, November. Last year, same time was 54. Total actives was 139. At the exact same time previous years, 134, just barely off, 3.73%. Pendings at 55. Last year, same time is 41. It's up 34%. Closed deals 43. Last year, same time was 57. It's off about 25%. And then pricing is actually down a tiny, 393 and then 408 last year. So 3.68% with an inventory level of 3.23 for months of inventory. You do have the King County handouts. Pierce County prints out like 6 pages, or 7 pages, so because there's so many MLS different areas, you know, on the map, so they print every single one of those, so. I'd give you guys at least King County in your handouts. All right, time for some education and development opportunities. We are 20 days away from this law change. 20. That's not even the business days. So I got I got these slides from my last designated broker mandatory 3.5 hour clock hour class with Annie last week that Tony and I had to do. It ended up being about little over 4 hours because there were so many questions and stuff like that. It was pretty funny. I should have included one of the slides. Because this is all just DBs, management and owner, anybody who's got a managing broker's license that actually has delegation in the DOL. You were supposed to go to this course. There was only 225 total people on it. So there should have been a lot more. And there are people sleeping. And we have photos of DBs sleeping. One of them had a pillow that right up next to their camera.
Oh, no.
So we are just talking, we're like, if they're not paying attention to this, who's like, how is this information getting out there? So I was thinking about it more and more, and I was like, I know we started this conversation here. Do you guys remember when?
Summer. Right? At the,
Huh?
yeah, Annie.
Who said last year? Last year, I had a slide about the House bill. Do you remember that? We were talking about the House bill that they're trying to pass and that it's going to pass. So we literally been talking about this for over a year, but there's so much information and it's so new that there has not been a significant law change like this since 1997. Raise your hand if you were in the business in 1997 in the room.
Come on, Eric, I wasn't even born.
That I didn't think so. So one person in the whole room that was in the business, I don't know how many on Zoom, but back then, the law changed and the update was you were automatically an agent to the seller. You were a seller's agent by default. And then all the buyers are like, hey, that's not fair. How is that right? So then the association said, you know what? We need to do something about this collectively. Let's get the law changed so that buyers can decide if they want agency. I mean, that's how it was. I started in the industry in 99. I didn't know any different. It is what it is. For the people who are newer, this is gonna be one of those things like, oh, I mean, this is just what I gotta do now. But I wanted to make sure we really go over the rules and some of these nuances that is going to trip people up and either get you in trouble with the DOL or you're not gonna get paid on a deal. I mean, it's that serious. So increased transparency was why they wanted to do this. And of course, to put a shield in front of us for all these lawsuits and class action lawsuits that are happening all, along the East Coast and spreading like wildfire. Now they're actually suing not just the firms, they're actually going after agents. Have you guys heard this?
Yeah, they're getting state by state.
Yep, it's literally spreading state by state. Okay, so all brokers must enter a brokerage service agreement with client before or as soon as reasonably practical before providing brokerage services. Equally true for buyers and sellers agents. You guys would not take a list, you would not work with a seller without an agreement, would you? We've always had the 1B, non-exclusive agency agreement with a seller. How many people even knew we had a 1B? Yeah. It's a terrible form. We would say, don't use it. For non-exclusive and exclusive agencies with buyers is going to be more we're gonna see, you're gonna be in situations where you're probably gonna have to be using non-exclusives. And we'll get in a little more into that a little bit later, but no services agreement equals no compensation. That's pretty much the easiest thing to remember about the new rules. If you don't at least get it signed, no money. I see one little question. And then we got someone else viewing AI. Okay, so exceptions, BPOs, CMAs, you can still do those without an agreement. So long as no other real estate brokerage services provided by the agent. If you start showing houses, you start going beyond just giving a CMA or a BPO or a bank or anything like that, then you will have to get an agreement signed. Referrals, same thing, they're exempt. So long as no real estate brokerage services provided by referring agent. If you start working together and trying to help out with this referral and you're actively working, showing how, doing duties, you have to get an agreement signed.
So is that a referral going out that we would need to get one, or referral coming in?
Here in Washington. With you, you're getting a referral. Or, yeah, you
Yeah,
receiving a client,
I'm
if
receiving-
you're doing duties, you gotta get it signed.
Okay,
But if you send a referral to someone else
yes.
and they're gonna do all the work and it's here or wherever, you don't have to get an agreement signed unless all of a sudden, some way, somehow, you start doing brokerage services and you're doing more, okay? Next is commercial. However, it does require a separate and additional disclosure that commercial is going to have. They have to provide it to client, but they have a waiver for it, for the state. This means brokers must disclose compensation with buyers as soon as possible. The amount, who pays, when paid, what if buyer has no money, what if seller offers no money. So you guys know you can't do pro bono. You're not attorneys and you just can't, you can't do it first and foremost. And secondly, errors and commissions will not cover you if there's no exchange for compensation for the work, for your services. It's one of their little loopholes. So nobody wants to be made an example on a situation like that. So you gotta keep that in the back of your mind. All right, common questions. Who's gonna enforce it? The DOL, the firms. Northwest MLS will do, gonna do their part. Should listing firms demand copy of buyer's agency agreements? No. You do not provide those to the other party. The only time you might is if you have to raise the compensation for the buyer's agency agreement. In the event that the SOC is lower than what the buyer has agreed to pay, you want to get it raised and you're gonna use the 41C, and trying to get that raised. Sometimes the listing broker, where Annie said that someone might ask if they say that maybe they have it at a high dollar amount, and they're like, whoa, how much? You got them to agree to what? I wanna see that in writing, at that point, the seller can request it. So keep that in mind if you have to do that. Amanda?
So when we're checking others than pay as offered, we don't automatically include the buyer's agency agreement with the new system? No.
Yep. No, that is not one of those things. Did you ever, like before, when you're working with a buyer, go, can I get a copy of the listing agreement? From the seller? I wanna prove what you wrote in on that 1A, to see what the SOC was set at.
Well,
You gotta think of it that way.
no, but you better have a print off of the MLS in case they change it while you're under contract, cause I've had that happen.
Oh, yeah, that's an old school
Yeah.
thing you should do. Did I see a hand raised? Go. Okay, let's keep going. Will escrow demand copy of buyer's agency agreement? No. There's a lot of confusion in the industry because escrow stance is like, they are not changing the way they do anything. But there's something that is gonna be very tough to deal with because the law states that the firm nor the broker can receive compensation without a signed agreement. So we don't know how it's gonna because escrow literally is gonna be like, we don't, you better, Like, we're gonna send it to you, and then our firm's gonna be like, we don't have it, we can't pay it legally. Now what do we do with this money? It's going to be happening, guaranteed. Corporate is still the attorney, trying to work with our insurance and talking with everyone, like, how do we cover for, like, they're still trying to figure this out.
Do you
There's,
think escrow is just gonna start wanting us to submit those? Or they really don't want?
they're not even gonna ask for them.
No, they want it paid outside of the deal, right, directly to the firm.
Yeah, they wanna send like normal, they do not wanna change the way they're doing anything and slow anything down. They're like, nope, we're not gonna police this.
So then it's up to us, John L. Scott's gonna have to police it within our sky slope and just make sure everyone's
Yeah.
gonna have our
That's what
agency.
Brian does anyhow, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just one more. thing
Pieko
we have
and
to
Brian
have
and
before we
Jerry,
start.
commissions, they're the ones that are checking on that. We're still working with Sky Slope to try to get a mandatory check field, for our checklist, and they're still like, whoa, we're trying to work on this. So I mean, there's a lot of more work behind the scenes, like I was telling someone, this is the craziest, most busiest December I've ever had in my career as a managing broker, like hands down, like this is bonkers. All right, DOL will audit and civil lawsuits are possible. So these are who's policing, right? Meaning potential regulatory discipline, license suspension, civil damages, including Consumer Protection Act remedy of enhanced damages and legal fees. That's what clients could do. Someone was like, can you go into depth on that? What does that look like? And he goes, I'll tell you what that looks like. You guys know how Andy is. There's no sugarcoat at all. She goes, I'll tell you what that looks like. That's where your buyer, you never get an agreement signed, the deal closes, and 9 months later, you get a knock at your door and you get served. You're being sued for all of the compensation. Personally, we won't be able to protect you. There's no agreement.
Sued by the buyer?
How can they do that?
Cause if you don't have it signed, there's no right for you to receive compensation.
Okay.
But Eric, from the organizational standpoint, the cross-check seems to be real simple. It's a checkable item in Sky Slope, correct?
Not yet.
Well, when will it be?
That's what we're working on. Does firm still get compensation if no buyer brokerage service agreement? It says no. This is like the deal, this is what Andy's saying, like the law says no. Without a buyer agency agreement, the buyer's agent gets no compensation. Recall the buyer's agent equals the firm. Like she's saying, it doesn't matter. Yeah, like we can't even receive it without it. So no one can get the money.
So if we can't receive it, then a few months later, how can they put it at your door when you've already gotten it?
I'm giving an example of
Right.
like extreme, like some other firm who's like, oh, the law's changed? I didn't know. We paid you. I don't
The
know.
TVs that were sleeping.
Yeah, the DBs that were sleeping. All right, let's continue.
But escrow's gonna send that though, right, regardless?
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah,
like,
well-
hey, we got this money, okay.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things, like I said, this is like crazy times. All right, teaching tools, some teach them good communication practices. Recognize and immediately stop, depart anti-competitive conversations. Here are some buzzwords to recognize describing broker compensation. I guarantee every single one of in this room have heard these words before in the past. Industry standard, typical, required, it's normal. What do you charge? It's like, these are the things like constantly like we have heard, and you're gonna have to like not use those anymore. Beware of emails, text, social media, chat rooms, industry gatherings. Annie said that she's had so many people turn in other people, like, look at this chat room on Facebook group and look what they're saying.
Wow.
She's like, don't even go on there. Tell your people to stay away from there. In fact, I've heard comments from a few of our own brokers who brought up information like, is this true? Can they do this? No, just stay away. And do you set an office minimum commission rate? Do you guys know what our minimum commission rate is?
$1.
We don't make a statement like that, but the only thing I can say is that our old school attorney said, you for real estate, like, you should not even do a deal unless you're making at least $1,500
Right, but we
for
can't.
your
work
E and O insurance.
But we can't work for free.
Right,
We can't work for free.
right.
So it has to be at least $1. But I mean, there's nothing in there.
That's
No, we
yours.
have nothing.
because
That's for you.
office-
Sure, but the office won't let us work for free.
Figure it out.
Right.
You gotta figure it out. All right. Here is a true, real example of, Annie had screenshots for this, actual thing. This is a listing agent is texting a buyer's agent after a showing, you know, he's looking for feedback, right? To see if the buyer is interested in the property. So buyer agent sends a text message. Since buyer's broker, or excuse me, they send the text message to the buyer broker, you're trying to find out for feedback. This is what the buyer's agent responds to. Since buyer's broker compensation is only X%, we've decided to scratch this off our list. Thanks and good luck. Is there a problem with that?
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys recognize that. And here's the listing agent. You could just write it up with a higher compensation, or you could have buyer kick in some extra money to cover it. Is there something wrong with that?
No.
No.
Given options.
Maybe. Who knows? Does that, I mean,
I don't think
No.
so.
well, I mean, you know, in text message, you can't really get too in depth of what their meaning is. Obviously, we know there's things you can do to make that happen,
Mhm.
but just writing it in without proper forms
Right.
and having the right documentation doesn't work. So it's one of those things, be careful. Okay.
Use this form or this form.
Right, buyer agent. X% is the predominant listing fee in the area, but there are ways around it if you try. That's what he says back. Definitely not right? So the problem, I mean, buyer agent says no offer since compensation only X implies listing broker should be offering higher compensation. Listing broker describes predominant listing fee. See that, I mean, that's one of the buzzwords. Discuss, buyer agent conversation appropriate with buyer, but anti-competitive with listing broker. Questions to answer, what should buyer agent say when listing broker asks this question? Was it okay for listing broker to suggest that buyer agent write an offer including increased compensation? So you kind of see the mess they got themselves into. For sure, the buyer agent should not have been making a statement like that, you know. Amanda?
Like the buyer's agent was wrong to say that. But moving forward as a listing agent, you're gonna have to assume that whatever buyer's agent you're dealing with has some kind of agreement with their buyer or else they're in violation.
Right.
So I mean, it seems like from that perspective, the listing agent is just, I mean, the buyer's agent should already know this, but the listing agent's just like, hey, duh.
Well, I think it's wrong because if it really went to the buyer, with the buyer, it's not the buyer who's disagreeing to this, it's the agent who's disagreeing to this. Because the buyer was saying 2.5, yeah, I want the house still, but the agent is saying, no, it's not enough. I need more.
Yeah.
So to me, I think that's what
That's
I
the
hear.
biggest thing, and yeah, Joe?
Yeah, but it doesn't state that. I mean, again, that person could just be saying, hey, you know, the insinuation is that it could just be, okay, hey, they could have an agreement that the buyer doesn't want to pay more, so we're just saying, hey, it's not as compensation rate.
Yeah, but,
It does
okay,
say
don't
we.
forget,
So who's we? 'Cause it does say
well, how
we.
many times when you're representing a buyer, you say, oh yeah, we said this?
Mhm.
Think about it.
But if you have a signed agreement, though, that's a legitimate statement, like they said, I can't show, you know, we have an agreement, I can't show anything over 1% or whatever.
So why did you show it to me?
I know. I mean, this is all, you gotta remember, this is just an example. It's just text messaging.
Yeah.
There's
Pick up
not
the
enough
phone
info in
right
it,
there.
right?
Message. Don't
So,
put writing.
Let's take their example and say, I'm not texting anything. I'm gonna call and have the conversations, but Yvonne's right. If we have an agreement that, you know, that you can ask and show listings still that are below the amount that you've agreed to, you should be doing that anyway. So, all right, let's go on here. What can listing brokers say about buyer agent compensation? Do not say, no broker will show for less than X. These are things you can't say to your sellers, right? If you don't offer compensation, no agent will show your home. You can't say that either. consider, you may offer compensation to buyer broker, or if you want to offer compensation, you may offer an amount you choose. Remember, seller hires listing agent for marketing advice, give it. CMA, broker's estimate of the value of the property. We're trying to work with Cloud CMA to get it updated to show in the information of what the SOCs were for your comps. Cause this is gonna be huge for you to present and say, here's what your competition offered.
That'd be really helpful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cause you're hands off, you're showing what the neighboring properties do. You're totally allowed to do that. Presentation advice, clean up the yard, declutter the kitchen, incentives. I really wanna make sure you guys get this word, incentives. Because that is what the offer of compensation truly is, right? It always has been this. So you really should be saying this to your sellers. Incentives, offer consideration of VA FHA buyers, share buyer closing costs, offer points to reduce interest rate, offer compensation to buyer broker. I've talked with 3 different sellers now from my past clients. And all 3 of them were like, they're scratching their heads, and and a couple of them done a few deals with are like, this is weird, why wouldn't we do that? Like, I wanna sell my house.
Yeah.
Eric, I wanna sell it, I don't want it to sit there. But we all know that there's gonna be different conversations, and you're gonna have to be prepared to have the conversations on why you should be offering incentives to get more clients. Were you gonna
Well,
say
and
something?
so I had a conversation recently and I started with, you may consider, but all this going on, and I said the incentive piece. And I said, hey, look, in all of that, considering what you wanna net, think of the incentives you wanna offer and put that into the list price.
Yeah. that's
Even
good.
at that,
They didn't bat an eye, they just did.
no, even at that, it's gonna be different.
Oh.
And yeah, it's gonna be different, so.
Well,
We'll
you're in
see
a
how
different
that
price
goes.
point too, though. That's
Yeah,
not the
but I
most
mean,
uncommon thing in that
Yeah,
price point.
well, it's gonna be uncommon for that price point.
Maybe.
So, I mean, even, you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
even, so I will say that helped me get what I wanted.
Mhm.
But of course, we all want this to just sell, so it did
Yeah.
not help me build a sound argument for something as a whole.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah,
And when we're having these conversations, did you tell them that, after the first, even they can offer whatever amount for incentive they want, but it's very possible that that buyer will have a contract with whatever agent they're working with where they are compelled to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Where they are
It was-
compelled to.
because I've always run my
What?
business with a
Let's
buyer's
keep-
agent.
let's-
Where they're compelled to pay the amount that the buyer has agreed that to compensate their agent for,
Mhm.
if they want to work with that buyer.
Okay, but let's
Not all that.
let's add something else to this, and this is the key piece you guys all have to have down and making sure you're stating. Yes, like, that whole part is fine, but you have to continue. The law used to be, I was not allowed to skip any listings to show to my buyer. That's what the rules were, that's what the law were, right? You were not allowed to say, oh, this one doesn't pay X, I'm not gonna send it to them.
No,
You
you
were not.
put on the buyer's agency agreement, there was a check on.
No, I know, I'm saying without an agreement.
Oh, sorry.
and prior
I
law.
always- Okay.
The prior law, without the agreement, without you stating that.
Yeah.
But that's how it was. What's the new law? Moving forward, the buyers can now stipulate in their agreements with their buyer broker to say, I do not want you to send me a single listing that is not this amount that I'm agreeing to pay.
Right,
Sellers need to understand that key component. And also VA, but the VA buyers, the veterans, they are not gonna allow veterans to pay it.
They're gonna have to come up with something special for that because this is
Well,
like,
time out though, won't that end up becoming discrimination on us? That all of a
Exactly.
sudden, oh, you're a VA borrower
discrimination
and
against
you
veterans.
can't pay it, and so.
That's out, that's not on us. That's gonna be against the state and the deal. I mean, that's the license, the law. I mean, it's all under the law that we're gonna have to follow. Cause a buyer's prohibited from paying it. So the sellers have to understand that if you say nothing, or you're not gonna give an incentive, then veterans will not be able to buy your homes.
If they go VA, but if they don't use their VA, then they wouldn't be under the same as everybody else.
Yeah,
Right, if they use.
but how many veterans wanna do that? That's one of the
Right.
best benefits of being a veteran.
So-
Okay, let's move it. Okay, what should firm do if the file review lacks an agency agreement? Before closing, and he says, get the agreement signed as soon as humanly possible. And impose additional training and closer supervision on the broker. If we don't have it.
Have fun.
Here's after closing. And he goes, what do you do when you're speeding and you pass the stealthy, Washington State Patrol on the side of the freeway? You're going 75 on the 60. What do you do?
Yeah.
You slow way down and you're like, please don't. Come on, they've been so good. I brought in extra food for the food donations and the code drive, like, come on, right? Can you pay compensation as normal? Do you return the compensation to the buyer, to the seller, to the listing firm? Any reason to have an agency agreement signed after closing? Not really. I mean, this is.
For them to say, yeah, this is what we want and have that, so it's not the knock,
Mhm.
maybe,
I know.
yeah.
All right. It is pop quiz time. Can we hand out our quiz sheets, please? You should all have fake number 2 pencils at your desk. Pens. I wanted Sharpies to make sure no one can change their answers, but we didn't have enough Sharpies. You all are gonna get a little handout like this. We're gonna just see how prepared we are.
I'll put your name on here.
Go ahead.
Everybody put Eric's name down.
Okay, let's do this.
Don't miss your quiz, Jim. Come on. All right, we all handed out, ready to go?
Pen right.
Yeah, that's what I have.
We good? We good? All right, now remember, I mean, this is right, we're all together. This is fun. This isn't, thing to pick on anybody, but realistically, it's to really take a measurement of, we've been doing classes since the beginning of summer. We had Annie come give the 3.5-hour clock hour class. I mean, that's when the real heavy, training started, and ever since that month, we have had continuing classes over and over on the new forms, the new laws and the updates, so let's see how we're doing. All right, question number 1. The list date on the new 2024 1A exclusive sale and listing agreement, which date shall not be more than blank days from the effective date? Is it A, 2 business days? It must be active on the 2nd business day in the Northwest MLS. Is it B, 30 days max, must be active on the 30th day in the Northwest MLS? C, 60 days max, must be active on the 60th day in the Northwest MLS? Or is it D, 90 days max, must be active on the 90th day in the Northwest MLS?
I know we changed it, but I can't remember. Wow.
Because they just updated this again.
So they updated the last week?
No, not
Oh,
we.
you called during our things.
Yeah, if you came to the training class and you were in actual,
So, yes.
Okay, so let me.
no, it was already,
Oh, okay.
it was on it.
So how many times, let me ask you this, how many times has
Visual
it
Live,
been
what did it
updated
say?
recently?
One, no, just
one.
once,
You
yeah.
got it, you got it.
Okay.
All right,
I don't know the answer.
everyone got it? Fill in a bubble,
Fill in the bubble.
fill it in. Uh-oh. All right, Miss Vanessa, no more chats, you guys. You're slowing down the presentation. All right. All right, The answer is D. It's 90 days.
It
It's
is.
changed to 90 days. You will now be able to get your 1A signed.
I couldn't visualize.
90 days. On the 90th day, it's gotta be active in the MLS.
Nice.
No more, what if I put in TBD?
Yeah.
What if I have them sign on 18 every month for the 90 days? So this begins now, this is starting on January 1. The new form will be available then.
They were gonna do us like 40.
So first one is D. How'd you guys do on that first one? I mean, it wouldn't shock me if some of you did not hear that one, because literally, I think they decided to update the form about 3 weeks ago.
I didn't hear that.
And then the form, it hit the MLS, it even said updates to the new listing agreement. You have a question? Okay. All right, question number 2. Some of these are straddle transactions. What that means is they, started in 2023 and it's gonna close in 2024. So PSAs drafted in 2023, but closings in 2024. What does buyer broker need to have in their SkySlope transaction file? You're the buyer broker. A, nothing. This deal was already under contract before the law change. B, a whole new PSA must be drafted for compliance. C, a Form 41 buyer's brokerage services agreement must be signed. D, a Form JLS Inc. buyer's representation agreement must be signed. Which one do you think? You can have multiple in this one.
Yeah, see your.
Oh, you can? Oh, there's the clue right there.
I'll give you a clue. I'm feeling generous.
Yeah, right, they're the same.
Thank you, Weatherman.
And does John L. Scott have their new one out now?
It's in marketing for its last edits. Yeah, they're improving the dialogue wheel. All right. If you pick D, that's good. And if you pick C, that's good. So C and D, those are the options. So if you have a pending deal, you're representing a buyer, and it closes, if it closes on January 1st or later, you have to get one signed and added to your SkySlope file, or we can't pay you.
Thank you very much.
All right, question 3. Listing agreement Form 1A is signed in 2023 and not pending. What does listing broker need to have in their SkySlope transaction file? Is it A, nothing? This listing was already signed before the law change. B, a whole new listing agreement, 2024 1A must be drafted for compliance. C, amend using the 2024 Form 18 amendment to exclusive listing agreement. Or D, use a Form 34 and regular language.
Oh, D,
Oh, yeah. We always do.
I'm better not seeing D's up in here. Jeez. Oh, my goodness.
Right now.
All right. Just make your bubble choice there. All right. It is C. You have to amend using the 2024 Form 18 amendment to exclusive and sale listing agreement. You do not need to write a whole new listing. The new Form 18 has the sections about the limited dual agency disclosure and also any other updates. It's literally now, all of it is almost all the way new, and then the bottom's the old other and price change or what, I mean, like that, I mean, that's the only thing changed, Shelley.
What would you write on it?
You're just marking the boxes. And that's it, and getting the initials.
Because you're not pending, but if you're pending, you don't have to.
Even if you're, well, if you're pending, you still.
You're not closed.
Yeah, you're not closed.
So something's signed.
Active, pending,
Something's on the market. Listed this way.
yeah.
It's still- let's see.
Form 8, you gotta do the 18, new Form 18. All right, how are you guys doing? Who's got 100% so far? Ooh, all righty, you guys are good. All right, question 4. Buyer's agency agreement Form 41 is signed in 2023 and not pending. What does buyer broker need to have in their SkySlope transaction file? A, replace with the new 2024 buyer broker services agreement. B, buyer's agency agreement can be amended with a new 41A, amendment to buyer brokerage services agreement. C, ask the buyer to register with the DOL for a buyer license.
See.
Or D, ask escrow to please sign a buyer's agency agreement at closing for you.
There's a Form 34 for C and D.
Can you imagine that? I wanna buy a house. Okay, you have to go register at the Department of Licensing to become a buyer. Get your buyer's license.
We're almost there.
It's coming. It's coming. All right, this one's pretty clear. Should have got this one just from the last questions on what you do for a listing. Same thing for a buyer agency agreement, if you have it straddling, from 2023 to 2024. Buyer agency agreement can be amended with the new 41A, amendment to buyer brokerage services agreement. I know it's a little confusing. They reused a number of an old form.
Yes.
The 41A used to be,
The buyer agency agreement.
but which one? Do you remember?
Exclusive.
Yeah, it was the old exclusive buyer's agency agreement.
If I don't think about it, I could get it right. Ask me another question where I don't think about it.
All right, well, you got more questions, so you got plenty
He's
more
got an essay
opportunities.
coming up
Right?
too.
All right, question number 5. You meet a buyer on an open house. This is a multiple choice one. Identify all true statements, and it could be more than one answer. Okay, A, before you show the home to buyer, you must enter a buyer's brokerage services agreement. B, if buyer does not want to purchase the house and does not want to work with you in the future, you do not need a buyer brokerage service agreement with this buyer. Or C, if buyer wants to view other homes with you, you must obtain a buyer brokerage service agreement before showing other homes to buyer. Or D, if buyer wants you to write an offer on a house, you must obtain a buyer brokerage service agreement before you discuss buyer's terms of offer unless you are the listing agent.
What did we do last one? That was pretty long.
Multiple choices in this one, and you can have more than one.
Oh.
I'll give you the first one. B is also, this is correct. If buyer wants to purchase the house and does not want to work with you in the future, you don't need a buyer brokerage service agreement with the buyer. C is also correct. If buyer wants to view other homes with you, you must obtain a buyer brokerage service agreement before showing other homes to buyer. Can you imagine this? You're at an open house. Across the street, they're putting up a new sign, new listing just comes on the market, and you're sitting there and the buyer comes over and you're showing them the house. And they're like, yeah, this one's just too small. And you're like, oh, have you signed obviously you've heard the new law changes in Washington, haven't you? Have you signed an agreement? Oh, no, what's that? You explain it to them and they go, hey, what about that listing across the street? What are you gonna do? They wanna see it.
Love to take you. But before we go.
Yeah, the new law, the law said, this is the new law. And you literally, at that point, in that juncture, you will have to sign a, whether it's non-exclusive or exclusive. I mean, it doesn't matter, you're gonna have to sign it at that juncture. I mean, that's the point.
Yeah.
I heard
there's
you-
gonna be a
I
lot
heard-
of.
Well, what happens when the DOL gets back on speed to, caught up and they start sending officers out in the field and they're testing on this?
I just think that's gonna be a rule that.
I don't know.
Well,
You know, a lot of us are looking at this as a royal pain in the ass, but I think the reality of it is that, it gives us a chance to build our professionalism and establish our value and our expertise in terms of knowing these things.
All right, and then of course, D is also okay. If buyer wants you to write offer on a house, you must obtain the buyer broker service agreement before you discuss buyer's terms of offer unless you are also the listing agent. If you're the listing agent, then you definitely have to do a bunch of other things.
So
All
what
right.
you're saying, when we post the open houses, we should have those forms filled out, ready to go, just
I
in
would.
case.
Yep.
Have them ready, yeah.
Is it because you're meeting them once and that's at the open house? Is
Yep.
that the caveat? Because I've heard in terms of going out with the client and showing them one house, you don't have to have.
That's
it
correct.
signed then. Okay, so that's the nuance,
The nuance is, yeah, as soon as you are,
because you've met them at the one.
yep, you've met them once.
You've already met them once.
Yep.
But just going and showing one.
The next one,
Exactly.
you don't have
Say you pay for
No, you
online
do.
leads, say you're paying online leads and someone calls in and wants to see something. You don't have to say, oh, sorry, but I need you to sign this before I go and show you.
No, but you know what? I mean, I've heard from a few people and, you know,
No,
from
that
our
would be
firm
great, but you're
who,
gonna.
who get online leads and they're saying, hey, not a problem, I will absolutely show you this house, but I want to let you know, did you know that the laws in Washington are changing? You know, starting January first, and actually what I've implemented in my own business now is I'm requiring clients to sign a buyer's agency agreement with me right after showing that house. And if I'm showing you this house, or it's even, I'm gonna have you sign this so to show this house, because if I don't show it to you and write it, I don't get paid.
It's a great litmus test to
Oh, yeah.
get rid of people who are just using you.
No, I think it works in our favor
Yeah.
totally.
Oh, yeah.
However, I don't think it's true. So.
I mean, no, true that that people will be following the law.
No, I don't think it's true that you have to get it signed before you show them that house. And so if you're saying, oh, the new law changed
No,
and I have to have you sign this.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying, I'm just saying like some brokers have taken it like, hey,
That level.
if the law is like changed, I might as well make it a standard of my business practice to tell everyone, I'm not gonna show houses unless I've got it signed. Period. I don't
Right.
care if it's the first one.
Yeah.
I don't care. You can do that.
Yep.
So that's more or less it. Okay, here's question 6. These are bonus questions. These are write-ins. So we're gonna go over these just for the sake of time. If you are the listing broker and buyer wants you to write buyer's offer, do you need a buyer brokerage service agreement with the buyer?
No.
You're the listing broker, buyer wants you to write buyer's offer.
Yes. if
No.
you're not.
Yes, dude.
Unrepresented.
Broker needs a buyer broker service agreement only if listing broker intends to be a limited dual agent. If buyer is unrepresented, then there's no limited dual agency.
And you just mark.
So
that
here's
on.
a key thing I want you guys to really stick into your brains. When you get those sign calls, you get those, you know, houses, you know, your own listing and someone wants you to write it. What do you think will be the best option for you to do?
Include it
Refer.
in there and you
Huh?
can-
Refer.
to include that one, just in case.
Do what, Shelley?
Have them sign a
Have them
buyer
sign it.
broker agreement.
You said if.
You know, I'm saying, what do you think with this in here? I mean, that's kind of shows you a clue of stuff you will not have to do and not even worry about. And you just lowered your exposure.
Just write it up without representing them.
Right, buyers, just do it with
Yeah,
unrepresented.
yeah.
I had that argument before this came out and they said, come on, you're an agency, or why would you say that you're unrepresented, they're unrepresented? You're acting as a dual agent, Sierra.
Yeah.
That's what you've heard that, right? In our industry, that's, I think Annie or whoever else was managing,
No,
they
There's,
said.
there's no
if you check
implied
that box-
agency. And I mean, there's not, it's not,
No.
If I'm the listing agent
Mhm.
and a buyer comes up to me and wants to buy,
Mhm.
my response is gonna be, I'm representing the seller. There's some great agents in my office. I'd be happy to refer you to one.
yeah, that's your business
I've had
practice.
that situation and it was a side call and I said, I do not represent you, I represent
So,
the
Yep.
seller. And
Yeah.
they said, we don't care. We just want you to write it up.
yeah.
We're
I
fine.
mean,
We're
you'll
not
still
doing
go through the
inspection, we're
same
not-
thing and, you know, it's all, but I'm just trying you guys, I'm wanting you guys to look at this just a little bit differently, you know, with the law changes. Now you got an opportunity to still do the deal. They're just unrepresented.
Yeah.
They don't wanna be and you have to explain this, and of course you have to give the pamphlet right up front. But this is, it's a way to still kind of work things out and not have to have the limited dual agency. One last question.
Yeah, going with your example that you just had, I think you still have an affirmative obligation to discuss it with the seller
Oh, of course, yeah,
Of course.
yeah, that's,
Yeah.
of course.
Before,
You should have that discussion even before the
Yep.
listing's live. All right, if buyer signs a buyer broker service agreement, what must be true of both the listing agreement and the buyer brokerage services agreement? And if buyer enters buyer brokerage service agreement, both consumers must have consented to broker serving as limited dual agent, which is initialed separately in each agreement now. It's in the 1A, the 18, the 41, and the 41A. Those are all in there. If you do not enter a buyer broker service agreement, have you complied with the agency law? Listing broker complies with agency law because listing broker entered a brokerage service agreement with listing broker's client, the seller. And if you do not enter a buyer broker service agreement, what must you give buyer and say to buyer? Whether listing broker enters buyer broker service agreement or not, listing broker must provide buyer with a pamphlet. And if listing broker does not enter into buyer broker service agreement, listing broker must advise buyer that buyer is unrepresented and can seek separate representation from another broker or a lawyer. So that's what Andy said. All right, question 7. You receive a phone call from a buyer regarding your listing. Buyer's not working with another agent. Buyer does not want to purchase, but wants to look at other properties in coming days. You should enter an agency agreement with that buyer, select all that are correct. By e-signature before you meet with the buyer. At your first in-person meeting before you show the property. At your first in-person meeting after you show property, assuming you want to work with each other going forward. Or D, within the first few outings and definitely before writing an offer.
That's my policy.
Yep, select, so you can
He's still reasonable.
Wow, yeah.
fill in the bubbles.
I think there's gonna be a lot of gray area here.
Mhm.
I know Andy
Well, it's
doesn't
pretty
believe
black
in
and
that,
white.
but.
All right, so the first one is at your first in-person meeting, obviously.
Yeah.
After you show that first property, I mean, if you met it, hey, because how do you, the whole law, like, how did you first, like, discover this client or this person, right? Oh, they came to my open, oh, they called me online, they came to my website, they asked for more information, the lender referred me. Well, you know, those things are gonna continue to happen. Once you get together, you gotta explain it. The new law is, this is it. If there's any other, if any services, if you want to see other listings, if you're gonna start at that point offering more brokerage services, then you gotta get it signed. Also, by e-signature before you meet with the buyer is fine. You can do that. I mean, like I said, some people are gonna implement that because they don't want to even cross the lines at all. I'm not gonna have a client say I never gave this to them after I start showing them houses. Jeff?
Yeah, we're having somebody saying, no way, I already had something signed with somebody else when you get there, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
That
Yep.
too, yeah. All right, so those two. Bonus question number 8. If I have a non-exclusive agreement and I close a transaction, can I get paid? I have a non-exclusive agreement and I close a transaction with that buyer, can I get paid?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. A non-exclusive agreement is still a brokerage services agreement. Okay, if buyer has non-exclusive with another broker and enters an exclusive with me, does that void buyer's non-exclusive agreement?
No.
Yes.
What do you think?
Depends.
No.
Yes.
If there's, probably you have to have the same area.
Let's say that, okay, they're mirrored, but they're exactly same area, exactly same terms, exactly same compensation.
It doesn't,
The only difference is non-exclusive and exclusive.
well, it doesn't void theirs, but you're the one who's closing the deal.
Right, no, it doesn't void it. Both agreements will exist simultaneously. But you have the exclusive. So that means if they write it and they buy any house with or without you,
Right.
you are owed money. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, if buyer has multiple non-exclusives with other brokers, am I doing anything wrong if I enter exclusive with a buyer?
No.
No. If exclusive broker writes buyer's offer, no problem. However, if non-exclusive broker writes buyer's offer on property within area of exclusive agreement, buyer's gonna owe 2 commissions. Exclusive broker should educate buyer about that potential outcome. This is the one that Annie and other broker DBs are definitely worried about. Cause buyers and consumers are not gonna understand this.
Well, and then, you know, take your client to court. That's a great outcome.
Exactly. Okay, if I represent a buyer in a purchase and sale agreement and I do not get a buyer brokerage service agreement signed by my buyer, either exclusive or non-exclusive, can I still get paid?
No.
No. Escrow nor the firm can pay you legally without one signed by a buyer.
If you have 2 buyers, but only one of them signed, can you still get paid?
I'm not an attorney, nor have I played one on TV. You know.
You represent the firm. I just wanna get my money.
I bet you have to have one.
I mean, should you have one seller sign a listing agreement?
No.
No.
Never. Yeah, you gotta have all parties to, you know, that are supposed to be to the contract on the agreement. I would not even attempt to, it's not gonna work like a notice. Oh, only one spouse was there, so I got their signature. No, you need them. All right, question 9, how does a buyer terminate a buyer broker's representation agreement, exclusive or non-exclusive? A, buyer sends an email or text message stating they are terminating.
True.
Broker sends a new Form 53, termination of buyer brokerage services agreement. C, the buyer just ghosts you and you never hear from them ever again. Or D, the buyer mails you a letter stating they are hereby terminating the buyer brokerage service agreement. Which one's right?
I think there's more than one right. Can you have more than one right, or we're?
No, not in this one. There's only one right in this.
Really?
I'm not familiar
Eh.
with Form 53.
I'll just buy it.
Now you have to tell me, because I've always said.
How many of you, raise your hand, if you're working with a seller, you had a listing agreement, you had the 1A signed, and then the seller's like, I don't wanna work with you. And the seller did, which of these types of options would a seller do? A seller's gonna send you a text message or email, and they're done?
Gonna be the form.
They didn't used to have a form. Now they need to have one.
Yeah, there's the brand new Form 53 will have to be signed if they're terminating
They
it.
can't just terminate it in writing anymore. We need the form.
And termination doesn't mean they're off the hook for compensation.
That's right.
It is so amazing to me.
Yeah, and if they terminate it, it doesn't keep them off the hook for compensation. In the event you had a non-exclusive, you wrote it up, you wrote up the deal, seller's like, yeah, no, I don't think so. Then all of a sudden they put the deal together later. I tell you what, we can make this work, we drop the brokers, or they bring another broker involved. Another broker writes it up. Exclusive or non-exclusive. In that event, you're still owed compensation by the buyer. So, last question. I know you guys, this is a tough one. A buyer signs 299 non-exclusive buyer brokerage service agreements and then meets you at an open house. They then sign their 300th non-exclusive agreement with you because they want to see the house across the street. What is the only way you will get paid a commission if you end up writing up that house? What's the only way? A, if you end up showing them a house and then they write up with broker number 1 because they feel guilty for making them show 50 houses. But since you showed it to them and broker number 1 did not, then you get paid the money. Is that correct? Or is B, since you suggested the new listing that the buyer did not know about, you were the procuring cause, then you get paid the money even if you do not write the deal up. C, you can't get paid the money unless you sign a Form 41A amendment to buyer brokerage services agreement and change the agency to an exclusive agreement. Or is it D, the only way you will get money is if you write the agreement for the buyer and that deal closes? Which one's right? Last question.
D. I know there's argument on. There's argument.
It is D. All right. How did you guys do? You did okay?
Okay, I had D, I got that, but C's a good idea in the sense that if we were gonna do that and we just changed it to make it clean so that no one else could come along and say that they had an issue, I kind of like that as a best practices.
Well, because you don't, I mean, the buyer might not know, maybe 20 of these non-exclusive are actually exclusive and it's just gonna be a big old can
Yeah,
of worms.
that's what I'm.
That's what I'm-
They're not.
There'll be a lot of those. I think there are gonna be those cases too, but.
Rock and roll.
Okay, if you guys did not do that good, right, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is so much, I can't take this. Don't forget, we have the new agency law in Washington State. This is a brand new 3 o'clock class. It's gonna be right here, no Zoom people. You'll have to be here. Free 3 o'clock, December 21st from 9 till noon, in person in the Sky Lounge. All right, upcoming events. Sorry, we're gonna try to rip through this. We have a class later today from 2:30 to 5 with the North Star Law Group. This is about small businesses, new tax regulations that's coming. That'll be right here later today. Zoom Virtuence tomorrow, real estate photography, 3D tours made easy with Virtuence from 10 to 11 a.m. McKennan's gonna help run that here. And also we'll send out the Zoom link if you wanna join that in person, but you get all the Virtuence discounts. Someone's gonna win a free listing package for the meeting, so might be worth it to check it out. All right, and then, Thursday, December 14th at 9:30 a.m. We've got homes.com. Do you guys hear homes.com is just blowing up? They're now behind Zillow. They literally skyrocketed for their traffic of real estate traffic online.
They were huge at the NAR conference.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, did you go? Oh.
Yeah.
Huge, yeah. So, Kellen will be here. He's gonna be here. They're gonna have light breakfast and training, but they're gonna help you get your profiles online because they're free. And every single one of your listings shows up as your listings. They do not sell your listings as ads to other brokers. So you're gonna wanna make sure, I checked out my old profile, went through and definitely took a while to clean it up and stuff like that, but it's got some really cool analytics and some different stuff for it, but you might as well show up for it because people, it's getting the traffic.
They used to be home snap.
Yeah,
Oh, they did. Oh, my
there's a
goodness.
couple companies. It's CoStar. CoStar owner is the group and they're huge. All right, and our own very own Nelia will be here the same day. There's Nelia. She's gonna do just investment properties and just does it pencil and kind of give you some insight. No Zoom or Zoom. Did you decide? She prefers no Zoom. Show up.
People show up here because we are gonna roll over maps and does it pencil out. There's a lot of like visual, like when you're here
Yeah,
looking at it, because not to get complex.
yeah. So I would definitely show up. Everything, I mean, thank you for doing this for us. I mean, you've done presentations for Seahawks a few times.
I promise you, you will be able to narrow things down within the first 10 seconds, looking at the property, like this is practice and now. By the end of the class, that's my.
Awesome. No, thank you. I know that's something like we've had a lot of our top producers do classes for us here, and that's just something that we're gonna continue to do because that's part of our culture and we're gonna continue to do that. So we're thankful for that.
So my
Nelia.
husband and I just put in the nutshell.
Yeah,
So my husband and I own a lot of rental properties. We have about 180 doors.
180 doors.
And I am super conservative, super cheap, so when I buy, like we have the, platform unit, whatever I'm doing, I'm kind of and all of that. So I think it's a great class. I've taught in the past, at the ZMS facility, but we have to go. I do it every year. And my student stuff there, but
Yeah, so you might want to show up for that.
yeah.
Thank you, Nelia. Also, that's, same day, we've got the NARP event, so that's on from 5 to 8 p.m. It's gonna be here. You can scan the QR code. It's 25 for members and 45 for non-members. This will be one of those, events, another building your financial wealth and tax strategies through real estate. So that'll be another event here. And then I've got a class I'm running next week. I got the very last ones for Rennie. This is something I'm teaching here. It is unbeatable value propositions for buyer's agents. I've got workbooks. I really need to know how many people are gonna show up so I can make the books for you. We're literally just gonna work on it together. I've only read through some of the stuff. We're just gonna go through it together. It's just to learn more dialogue, more, conversation pieces for you to have with clients to really lift up your value proposition.
You think
Amanda?
maybe you'll do it again January, February-ish, sometime in the beginning of the year?
Maybe, I don't know,
This is-
this is the first time.
Okay, this is such a tough week, the week.
I
before.
know, it's, believe me, if the laws weren't changing, the
Yeah.
schedule would be a lot more open, and I'd probably be out of the country too.
Let's all go.
Yeah, and then, of course, Women's Council of Realtors is having an event,
Seattle Metro.
Yeah.
We have two now.
2 events, and.
No, we have two, women's council. We have Seattle Metro,
Oh.
and we have South King County. So I'm part of South King County.
And I'm part of Seattle Metro.
Wow.
So you'll hear about different events, but we have to remember that there are two different locations, two different women's council, but we are one women's council realtor.
Yeah.
Just two
Right
different
on.
locations.
And this is Snohomish and Seattle Metro. It is at the Nile Shrine Golf Course up in Mount Lake Terrace on January 3rd. And Matthew Gardner is gonna be there speaking about 2024.
Okay, and then I'm getting questions if I can scan this and send it, and I'm actually not allowed to send the digital copy. It's against my agreement I did with Rennie. I can only print them out, and we can do it in a sitting setting. I'm sorry, I can't provide it digitally. So sorry, guys, I know we had a lot of stuff to cover today. All right, and with that, go to more.
I know.
Very
Awesome. You told it to.
I told you it was gonna take a lot
All right.
today.
Good morning. Thank you for sticking with me. I appreciate it. Okay, so what's going on? So what do you guys hear in the market? What's the big deal for you guys right now? What are you hearing? Just
Inventory,
Yeah.
rate shopping.
rates, Fed? Okay, so here you go. So this is where we are today. For the 10-year treasury, it's 4.239%, okay?
Going.
You can see where we were. So if we add, basically 3% to that, and that's where you get mortgage rates, okay? But you can see where we were for our last meeting, we were here, we were at the highest it's been pretty much, since 1980, right? So that's we are, and this one you can see what was still tough, everything's going up, right? It's sort of like the Price is Right one with the oldie guy.
Yeah.
Oldie, going all the way up. Now he's working his way back now, which is cool. So you can see where we are today, we're at 4.24, Fed's gonna meet tomorrow. We're gonna find out what they're gonna do, okay? So I don't know, the last couple meetings, I don't think I have it on this slide, the last couple meetings, it's all been going up, and now they paused. There's another meeting next week, there's a meeting tomorrow, and there's a meeting on January 31st. So at one point, I think they're gonna raise it, okay? Maybe a quarter point, that's my thought. But the thing is, the employment numbers came out last Friday, they want employment to go down, right? More people on unemployment. Challenges did, so people are still employed, and I think that's what's causing the pressure on things. So you can see where we are, we're on a little high, around 7% around there. Last year at 6.38%, so we were complaining last year, oh, it sucks. Now like, hey, 7.10, it's actually not bad, okay, great. Not as high as it was before, right, so we're kind of sitting there. Also, the history of interest rates going through everything is like 7.25%. So historically, we're right where we're at. It doesn't do anybody any good because everyone saw 3%, okay, I get it. But that's kind of where we are today, so then it's just another graphic version of it, around 7%, 7.1 on the 30-year fixed. The jumbo stuff's a little bit higher at 7.5. In FHA and other things are right around, high sixes, which is great. But it's better than we were before, okay? So, and then this is what I did yesterday, there was a little trend for negative rates, but everything, so the big thing was inflation numbers, I'm sorry. The inflation numbers came out this morning, they're basically pretty much where they were before, all right? So they projected a certain thing, it's still in the same spot, we didn't get a bunch of change from that, okay? If the inflation numbers come in lower, interest rates will drop. If the interest rates come in higher, they're gonna hold the pattern for more, or they'll increase their interest rate at some point, okay? So that kind of makes sense, that's kind of what's going on right now. The other thing that's going on right now is a couple different things. We did this program, this class yesterday, and had to catch a couple more deals. I was gonna briefly touch through it. If you missed it, come see us, we'll give you a 101 if you want to, but really, next month, we'll do another class. You guys looked at a crazy video that we did on Friday?
you know,
Yeah.
comment to the next one. We really appreciate it. So, here you go. So the three strategies I think are great now for this time of market, especially the next week and a half when we're seeing family, we're seeing everyone, we're getting all together. The first one is a buy now and sell later strategy for seniors. Meaning like I own a house, I'm older, I want to downsize, but I don't want to go through the hassle of selling my house first, renting, and then buying something else. We have great strategies on how that works. You can do that by using your 401k and everything else. The other one is purchasing a home for an elderly parent. The mom is ill, not ill, but she's just, I mean, she doesn't make a lot of money. I need to get her somewhere. But I can also, but she can't purchase, she doesn't have that income. But I can buy the house for her. Okay, I can buy the house for my mom. It can be owner occupied. They know I'm not gonna live in it. And I can do as little as 5% down. Great option. Interest rates
Oh,
lower,
that's good.
right? You're not doing an investment property,
Mhm.
okay? Is this being recorded?
Yep.
Okay, well then, well, I buy the house for my mom, right? I'm buying it for her. They know I'm not gonna live in it. I get owner occupied pricing, but something happens to my mom and she can't move in. What am I gonna do? Guess we'll just rent it out. There isn't occupancy police going around. We got someone not living in, you know, we don't have that.
But do you have to show your parents' name or, I mean,
You can buy the home in your own name.
you buy the,
They don't have to be on it.
Don't have to be on title.
but say it's for your parents.
Yep.
And it could be a primary
Yep.
for them.
Yep. So the great conversation now when you're meeting with family and everything else.
Mhm.
Great conversation. The other one is owner occupied multifamily homes, right? How do I buy the house? I can buy house at 5% down, owner occupied and rent out the other three and count it as income, okay? So did you did this one?
Oh,
I'm an old man.
I want to downsize and live closer to my grandchildren. I don't want to sell my home first and be homeless. I don't have enough money to buy a new home, and I'm fixed on a small retirement. I'm stuck with no way out, other than taking a dirt nap. What do I do?
So that's the first one, real quickly. Buy now, sell later for seniors. You can lower your down, you can do a super low down payment, buy the new house. We can use your 401k IRA account that you have as income, right? If I do if I have $1 million IRA and I need to take out 25,000 a month in order to qualify right away, I can do that. I do a one-time distribution, I count it as income. Sell my house, buy the new house, sell the old house, or pay off the loan or recast the loan, okay? Real simple stuff. This is easy.
Way easier than like a bridge loan or.
Yeah, so,
Collateral loan.
thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. Hey, my mom I own a house. I want to buy this other house. What kind of bridge loan can I have? I own the house free and clear. Don't do all that. Just tap into the IRA for 1 month. Right? Set up the distribution, use that as income. Now you can buy the older house, you buy the house, with low down payment. Bigger payment, you suck it up for a month or two, and then when you sell your house, you're ready to go, okay?
That's cool.
Or set up a home equity line of credit on your house before you move. Use that to make payments or as a down payment on a new house. Do that, okay? It's all predicated using the IRA account, okay? So if I own my house free, and I don't have to own the house, I'm older, want to downsize, but don't go through the hassle of buying, I want to buy now and sell later, talk to us. It's great coverage, program stuff. Next one.
It's the old man again, but this time I don't have much funds and I don't own a house. But I do have my young kids, but my kids want to help me out for a place to live. But they don't have much money. Can they buy a place for me?
Yes, you can. That's the family opportunity mortgage, right? Allows for adult children to purchase or refinance a primary residence for their elderly parents. Borrowers' parents must be unable to work, have limited income to qualify on their own, and no distance requirement where the borrower's primary residence is located. I live here. I want to buy the house down the street for my mom, can't qualify. I can do that, owner occupied, 5% down.
You have to qualify. Your mom don't have to qualify.
Correct. I gotta show mom can't qualify.
Mhm.
If mom has a bunch of houses and makes a lot of money, and she wants to buy it as investment property at 5% down, can't help you with that one. Okay, but I've done this many, many, many times. This is an older program. A lot of people don't think about it. Okay? Great time for you to connect with family. And the third one,
Yo, I'm looking to house hack. I'm gonna buy multiple properties so I don't have to work anymore. Problem is, I don't have a lot of cash. Can I get this done?
yes, you can, because that's where we have the 5% down multifamily, right? I have a fourplex I want to buy it, but before I had to do 25 to 30, or 15 to 25% down. On $1 million home, I had to bring in $200,000. Now, if I want to buy it, I can buy it as owner occupied for 1 unit. So that the other 3 units can be rented out and I can use those proposed rental income to qualify for the loan. In this scenario, I only need 50,000. It's a huge game changer, especially for everyone. We get a lot of questions. Hey, I want to buy now, but I want to buy another property every year for investment properties to get as many doors as I can. Or you can do this one and just get 4 doors right away. Right? Simple as that. But this is a huge change. So those 3 things are great to talk around with family members and everything else, especially the next couple of weeks. Okay? And all these programs can still be doing our certified mortgage ready where you can be fully approved ahead of time. We can still do the close on the 10-day close. We can still do the pre-approval payout promise, meaning if we get you fully approved and then you can't close because we screwed something up, we'll pay the seller $5,000, okay? And we also have the refi where there's no lender credit fees for the refinance. All those programs just went over have all this included.
Nice.
Okay, we got a lot of fun stuff here. And Leah's great to work with too.
I'm quiet over here.
But that's the kind of stuff, we're here to help you out, new income streams for next year, I mean, a lot of great stuff, everyone's complaining about the market rates, but if you look a little bit different and figure out the catchphrases that people are saying around with family member and stuff like that, you definitely can come up with a different income or a different way to get someone to sell home or a different prospect to a buyer, okay? Any questions on that? Thank you for staying late, I appreciate it.
I know.
I think, the morning, there you go, that's all we got,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. I
And I
know.
wish we had an exclusivity agreement like you guys have. How awesome that'd be as a mortgage person. Did not get shopped around and everything else. I love that. So be glad you got it.
Different outlook, huh? Different outlook. All right, quickly, company news and highlights, the brand new signage, the John L. Scott signage is going to become available any day now online through the vendors. Spectrum sign, all the other ones, you can start ordering the brand new versions. And then I was hoping to get some samples of the brand new business cards they've got, whole new line of business cards. Yeah, they look really good. So kind of goes along with the modern, motif of the refresh to the branding. So stay tuned for that one. Win a trip, the very last one's drawing is December 27th. If you're using those at your opens, you already knew, huh? You've been using this program over and over, huh?
I use it at my client events, I use it at my
Yeah.
open houses, I use this all the time.
You've even had one client win it, but they were a fake client,
No,
they gave
they were-
fake info?
No, we had
had a real one.
Real one. We had a real one.
Cause we had someone here, I don't remember who it was, they had a client filled in fake information.
No, that one wasn't mine.
Yeah, there was someone else here, literally, they had an open house and their client, the person that filled it out, put in fake name, fake phone number, fake email. And they gave up their $4,000 trip they could have had for free. Weekly action challenge has started. You can sign up. It gives you in your handouts, you've got those sheets if you want to go along with this, but they're gonna do drawings for $100 if you go along with it and turn in your cards. All right, home anniversaries, December's are out now. You can get those lists from staff. But the home anniversary cards and templates are in your MyDesk. And there are scripts available and then social media posts, but really it's the best time to start connecting with clients. Do you guys know what the #1 internet real estate traffic day is online?
26.
Why would that be? Everyone's home and what do they get during Christmas? New devices, new iPad, new computers, new tech. So they're online and they got time. Really good idea for you to do ads during these weeks. So coming up, like definitely put some money into doing some Google ads, do the boost. I'm serious, one of the best times to do it is during the highest real estate online traffic in the whole year. Comes in December and January. So definitely do that. And then, did you guys know that, of course, the recording fees are going up? It's gonna go it's up $100. So yeah, from $203.50 to $303.50. Deeds of trust up 100, plats, condos, everything. They're all going up 100 starting January 1st across the board. Access home closings is $1,300 a side regardless of the home price. And that's all the stuff that's included without additional fees.
Yeah, recording a mortgage is damn near like $700 now. $800 just to record everything with the county. It's ridiculous. What they're doing.
Yeah. And then last, we're gonna hear from, Mr. Joe Martin, your husband.
So the main reason I love Access, I've done my first 2 transactions with them and everything is super convenient. It's all listed out right in front of you, checklist based, to-do list. And me being a Virgo, I love things organized. How upfront they are with communication. Things happen and they're on top of it, which as we know, when we're on the road, sometimes we might not listen to a voicemail, but I'm gonna see the text message. Another thing I really love is they don't just communicate with me. So now I have to burden myself and try to track down my clients. They're gonna send that communication out to the whole transaction, everybody involved, and that's just super convenient. So my clients love it because part of my value proposition that I tell all my clients is I'm gonna be open and upfront with you, no matter if it's good or bad news. So that's the great part about Access is they're gonna be transparent. If you have extra things on your title that need scrubbed and need cleaned, they're gonna tell you and they're gonna take care of it upfront and fast instead of letting it delay the transaction later on. Most important thing to me actually really is those flat fees. So I was able to actually convert one of the brokers on the buying side to use Access instead of said company we were already with because of the flat fee. That was his main concern. We sent him your guys' list of what you guys offer and how much it costs, and he loved it. It was like, oh, it's all right here in front of me. I don't have to worry about a sliding scale or anything. This is the rate. Let's do it. I have no problem switching. So that's super convenient. I plan to do that with everybody. So I use Access every chance I get.
All right, thanks, Joe. And with that, I want to thank you guys. Happy holidays. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry we had to go long today, but I warned you. It's gonna be a long one. But thank you guys so much. Don't forget, office will be closed, of course, Monday on Christmas, and we close early on both those Fridays at 2 p.m. Anything else for the good of the group? All right.
Thanks.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you for making it. And we will see you on the next one.
Can you go back to priority lending? I want to take a picture of.
I think it's a flag.
I want the one that where it said what the 3 different ones are, guys.